The calamities did not give Xiao Phong time to grieve. Before dawn broke, hands seized him from the shadows. They were cold, too cold to belong to the living, and smelled faintly of ink and incense ash. Xiao Phong struggled, but his strength was no match. A heavy blow struck the back of his head, and the world spun violently. When he regained consciousness, darkness surrounded him. He lay inside a coffin. The air was stale, thick with the suffocating scent of old wood and decaying paper. Every breath scraped his lungs. The lid above him was sealed tight, nails driven deep, cutting off even the faintest trace of light. Outside the coffin, faint rustling sounds echoed, soft footsteps, whispering murmurs, the dull scrape of something being dragged across the ground. Then came the chanting, low, rhythmic, inhuman. Xiao Feng's heart pounded as he felt the coffin begin to move, rocking slightly as if being carried. He tried to shout, but his voice came out hoarse and weak. Suddenly, a sharp pain stabbed his eyes. Through the darkness, 2 pinpricks of red light ignited on the inner surface of the coffin lid. Eyes, someone or something, had painted pupils onto the coffin from the outside. The paper talismans plastered across the wood flared faintly. The coffin shuddered. The paper figures had been given sight, and once a paper spirit sees, it becomes ferociously malevolent. Without warning, the coffin lid creaked open. Blinding light flooded in. Xiao Phong gasped, shielding his eyes, and scrambled upright. He found himself no longer inside the coffin, but standing in the middle of the village square. The sky above was bright. A blazing sun hung overhead, warm and reassuring. Chickens crowed. Smoke rose from kitchen fires. Everything looked normal, too normal. Xiao Feng's heart sank. The air was wrong. There was no wind, no warmth on his skin. The sunlight cast shadows that pointed in conflicting directions, some bending unnaturally at sharp angles. This was a false sun, an illusion crafted to deceive the boundary between life and death. Time itself had been distorted. If he believed morning had come and stepped beyond the formation, his soul would be dragged out of his body before he realized his mistake. From the corners of the square, paper figures emerged, life-sized effigies of villagers, their faces frozen in cheerful smiles. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, joints bending where no joints should exist. Each of them turned toward Xiao Feng at the same time. Their smiles widened. Just as the paper figures began to advance, a cold voice hissed beside Xiao Feng's ear. "Don't move." He froze. From the shadow beneath a collapsed roof, a serpent spirit emerged, its scales dark and gleaming, eyes slit and ancient. Though its form was half human, half beast, its aura was restrained, cautious. "This is a slaughter formation," the serpent whispered. "It feeds on impatience." Xiao Feng clenched his fists. "Then how? Do I leave?" "You don't," the serpent replied. "Not yet." It lifted its gaze toward the sky. "That sun is fake. The crowing you hear is false. Dawn has not come." The serpent's tongue flicked out. "They are using the village's chickens as offerings," it continued. "Every crow drains one life. If you step out before the 3rd true crow of dawn, you die." As if to confirm its words, a rooster crowed nearby. The paper figures shuddered, their bodies absorbing something unseen. One of them grew more solid, its paper skin thickening, gaining weight. Xiao Feng's blood ran cold. "This formation is killing the village," he said. The serpent nodded slowly. "To kill you." Minutes stretched into eternity. The paper figures circled Xiao Feng. never stepping too close, never retreating. Their eyes followed him without blinking. Occasionally, one would tilt its head, as if listening to something beneath the earth. Another crow echoed. The false sun brightened. The pressure in the air intensified, crushing against Xiao Fong's chest. His vision blurred, and he felt an invisible pull tugging at his soul. "Don't give in," the serpent hissed. "Close your eyes if you must. Do not acknowledge the sun." Xiao Fong dropped to his knees, sweat pouring down his face. He focused on his breathing, recalling every lesson his grandfather had taught him. About stillness, about endurance, about surviving when movement meant death. The paper figures began to tremble. Cracks appeared across their bodies, black ink seeping out like blood. Then a rooster crowed, not nearby, far away. The sound was thin, distant, but unmistakably real. The false sun flickered. Once, twice, a third crow rang out, clear, sharp, echoing from beyond the village boundary. The serpent's eyes flashed. Now! The illusion shattered violently. The false sun exploded into fragments of light. The village square dissolved, revealing a desolate field, littered with broken paper bodies. Black talismans burned to ash mid-air. The coffin lay nearby, split down the center. From underground came anguished howls, dozens of them, as the formation's backlash tore through its caster. The serpent recoiled, wounded by the collapsing energy, its form flickering. "Go," it urged. "Your presence invites disaster." Xiao Fong hesitated. "Why help me?" The serpent's gaze hardened. "Because if you die here," it said, "what follows will drown everything." With that, it vanished into the earth. Xiao Fong stood alone among the ruins, trembling but alive. The killing formation was gone. But its message was clear. This was no longer a village tragedy. This was a hunt. And Xiao Fong was the prey. Dawn arrived without warmth. When the sky finally lightened, Xiao Fong stood at the edge of the ruined field where the killing formation had collapsed. Ash drifted across the ground like black snow. Broken paper figures lay scattered, their painted smiles peeled away by fire and backlash. The village behind him was silent, too silent. No roosters crowed, no doors opened. Even the wind avoided the place, as though unwilling to carry the stench of what had occurred. Xiao Fong returned cautiously. What he saw confirmed what he already knew in his heart. Several houses had collapsed inward. Roofs caved as if crushed by invisible weight. In the courtyards, chickens lay dead, eyes wide open, bodies drained dry. The formation had used them as offerings, and the price had been paid in full. This was no longer an accident. The village had been marked, not only by human heretics, but by forces that moved beneath and beyond them. The moment the Phoenix fate had been exposed, a signal had gone out, silent, irresistible, to demons, spirits, and cultivators who trafficked in destiny. If Xiao Fong stayed, they would keep coming, and next time, the village would not survive the crossfire. He stopped before his family home. The roof was shattered. The memorial tablets lay cracked on the floor. The stone stelae in the courtyard, once whole, once steadfast, had finally split completely in two. A faint hum lingered in the air, the last echo of a burden released. The nameless stone had finished its task. Xiao Fong bowed deeply. This place had given him life. It had shielded him far longer than it should have, but it could no longer protect him. As Xiao Fong turned to leave, the air behind him rippled. A familiar presence emerged, faint yet unmistakable. The fox immortal did not fully manifest. Only her silhouette appeared, blurred, as though reflected on the surface of still water. Her 8 tails were dimmer than before, their light restrained. "This is as far as you go together," she said. Xiao Phong did not turn around. He already knew. "I won't ask you to stay," he replied quietly. A soft laugh followed. "Good," she said. "You are finally learning." Her tone grew serious. "The village has become a beacon. Your presence will draw calamity here again and again. Leaving is not cowardice, it is necessity." She paused. "Go southwest." Xiao Fong's eyes narrowed. "Southwest?" "Yes," she said. "Follow the broken dragon vein. Cross the old mountain pass. You will encounter someone who owes your family a debt older than your grandfather's life." "A benefactor?" Xiao Fong asked. "A key," the fox immortal corrected. "Whether they become a benefactor depends on you." He clenched his fists. "What about my fate?" Her gaze sharpened. "Your fate has already stepped beyond the village," she said. "From now on, every choice you make will carve it further." She began to fade. "One more thing," her voice echoed. "Do not return, not until you can stand beneath heaven without being crushed." Then she was gone. The wind stirred again. Xiao Fong left before noon. He did not bring much. From beneath the floorboards of the Tewawa ruined house, he retrieved a sealed bundle, the family's hidden legacy. Inside were talismans written in his grandfather's hand, fragments of ancient formations, and a thin booklet bound with thread too old to identify. There was also a folded document wrapped in oilcloth, a marriage contract, names written in faded ink, seals pressed with spiritual intent, a bond established not for romance, but for balance, meant to stabilize a fate that could not be allowed to tilt too far. Xiao Fong stared at it for a long time. He did not understand it fully, but he could feel it. This contract was not a chain, it was a compass. He placed it back into the bundle. Finally, he took one last thing, the blood-sown garment his mother had made. Though its power was gone, he folded it carefully and carried it with him. Not as protection, but as remembrance. The path leading southwest was narrow and overgrown. As Yao Fong walked, the air gradually changed. The oppressive heaviness that had clung to him since childhood loosened, replaced by something vaster and more dangerous, possibility. He felt eyes on him, not watching from close by, but from far away, from mountains, from rivers, from places where human footprints faded and other kinds began. The world beyond the village was not kinder, but it was honest. Here, strength mattered, will mattered, choice mattered. He crossed the mountain pass at dusk. Below him stretched a land he had never seen. Winding rivers, distant cities, faint glimmers of spiritual light rising and falling like breathing. This was the greater world, and it was already aware of him. As night fell, Xiao Fong did not stop walking. Behind him lay a village that had sheltered a secret too heavy for mortal soil. Ahead of him lay demons who would hunt him, cultivators who would test him, and alliances written long before he was born. He carried a phoenix fate that no longer slept, a dragon debt not yet repaid, and a heavenly tribulation that had not yet descended. This journey was not an escape. It was an opening move. The true story, the one written in blood, thunder, and defiance, had only just begun.